I hate running. It's hard, and I'm not good at it. So it may come as a surprise to find out that I ran the first nonstop 5K of my adult life in Napa last March. Oh, I'll take it, and I'll take the applause. I signed up because the weather was supposed to be nice, the course was flat, and I genuinely liked everyone who signed up to do it. There was something about achieving a feat I truly believed I could not do, even as the gun went off, that got me to stick with it. I wanted to prove to myself that I could get better at something that I wasn't good at. Since August, I have been running consistently. And that means showing up even when I don't want to. But showing up has been beneficial. I've since shaved 4 minutes off of my 5K time. I was waiting for applause, so thank you. I still hate it, by the way, but my race pace has become my easy pace. There was no way to shortcut that improvement. No Disney World fast pass equivalent to circumvent the slog. The only metric it came down to was time on feet. We celebrate the struggle in sport, but criticize ourselves when we struggle while learning. If you think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., you're probably picturing one of the greatest speakers of all time. You're probably not picturing a struggling seminary student who earned a C in public speaking. We celebrate the speeches, but we forget the semester. We love the comeback, but we don't like to live through the part where we're not good yet. And for the first time in history, we have tools that can help us skip that part. So, what do we lose when we skip the struggle? And when should we prioritize efficiency versus force ourselves to move through what Brené Brown calls the messy middle? I'm here to argue that we should struggle more. I'm not a sadist, although my running streak may suggest otherwise. No, I think we should struggle through the learning process. This struggle, what scientists refer to as cognitive loading, shapes us. It's what makes us human. It drives our critical thinking, and it helps us get better at problem solving. Doing the work is the path of most resistance, but it's also the only proven path to becoming educated students, competent professionals, and informed citizens. And we're already seeing what happens when we bypass it. In a randomized study at a university in Budapest, students who used AI tools without guardrails scored up to 40 percentage points lower than students who did the thinking themselves. So, here's the question I have for you. If struggling is the price of learning, are we still willing to pay it? We better be. As young adults and emerging leaders who will soon have influence over teams, projects, and future generations, we owe it to ourselves. We're young enough to upskill quickly on the latest drop of AI tools, but not so young that we don't remember a time without them. The next generation won't be so lucky. Cognitive neuroscientist Stanislaw Dehaene argues that the brain does not passively receive information, but instead acts like a scientist, forming, testing, and adjusting hypotheses. Put another way, our brains learn new things, much like you would think about training for a race. Let me break this down for you. First, we pay attention, lock in on form. We can improve on what we're not focusing on. Second, we engage actively. It's time to do the reps. This is easier said than done, but even lacing up and going for a walk is a step in the right direction. Third, we need error feedback because our brains can only improve their models when they know they've been wrong. In my case, sore legs and burning lungs were the feedback that I needed to be a little more consistent on that running routine. And fourth, we need consolidation because the real growth happens when our brains and our bodies are given a chance to rest. So, when scientists say our brains need attention, engagement, errors, and consolidation, what they're really saying is our brains need reps. Reps that take learning from memorize, recite, forget, to dream, create, and innovate. And AI is the first tool we have that can do the reps for us if we let it. And I get it, that sounds amazing until we realize the reps were the point. I didn't really fully internalize this until I sat down to write something without AI last quarter. I didn't know what to write at first, but I knew I wanted to submit a piece to Non-Disclosure, our school magazine. And the only thing I told myself was, you have one clear guardrail: no AI. I can't submit something to a magazine that I haven't written on my own. On day one, I wrote maybe 50 words. Let me tell you, I hated every single one of them. I felt like I had gone back to the gym after time away and my brain cells had atrophied. But at least I got started. By day 3, I was down bad. I kept scrolling through the endless thoughts that I'd brain dumped, trying to find a paragraph I liked, let alone an entire article. It would have been so easy for me to ping my new bestie, ChatGPT, for a full draft in 2 minutes. After all, she was starting to sound more like me than I did myself. But I decided to stick with it. And there was a moment where I wrote something that sounded like me, and I didn't hate it. And that was all I needed to keep going. When my draft was finally done, 2 weeks later, I was full of pride. I felt stronger, like I'd built back parts of my brain that were on extended hiatus. And it was in that moment that I knew this was a struggle worth keeping. It was in that struggle that I realized learning isn't so much the shortest path to an answer. It's what happens in the midst of the journey through our questions. Brookings Institute researchers sum this up well. That struggling to find our own words and pursue our own questions is what makes learning meaningful and life worth living. Okay, so here's where I tell you that I actually made a custom GPT that wrote this talk for me. In fact, I'm not standing on stage right now. I'm an AI-generated digital twin trained to give you this presentation. Yeah, I'm kidding. Of course, that's not true. In fact, I'm giving this presentation because my mirror has heard it more times than I can count. Conversely, I also don't want you to take away from this that I'm anti-AI. Au contraire. I may not have used my bestie, Chat, to draft this for me in the name of saving my own brain cells for creativity, but I absolutely used Notebook LM to gather and parse 28 sources because that struggle was worth outsourcing. So, how do we know when to use AI and when to struggle? Let me offer you 3 ways that I'm thinking about using these tools to boost my own efficiency. First, the researcher. Use AI to gather and parse sources, but protect your original thought. Create it yourself. 2, the challenger. Use AI to pressure test and strengthen your final product. 3, the personalizer. Use AI to change the format, diagrams, presentations, podcasts, not skip the thinking. These tools will clearly have an amazing impact on our workflows. But we can't see the hard work associated with learning and creativity, the very things that make us human, to technology. For so many of us, learning has been about optimizing for achievement. And I hope today I've convinced you that it can be so much more than that. That daring to embrace the struggle differentiates leaders from followers. That the 5K medal around my neck was more than a piece of hardware, but a reminder that I can and should do hard things. That if you want to see the gains, you can't skip the reps.